welcome everyone to MN Talks, another show of How Subscribed Are You? Today we have a special guest, Simon. Simon, welcome to the show and thanks for agreeing
Thank you.
to coming here.
It's nice to be here, and thank you for having me on the show. And I work for Futurescape, and my role is learning and customer experience design. I'd love to sort of discuss what we have in store today.
No, I love it because, Simon, last time I was talking to Sam, and before even we started talking about it, he was like, I have to talk to you because this is a topic, we would have a really, really nice chat about subscriptions because it has everything what you do, right? The customer experiences and the data. So great. So I think first question for you, Simon, is everybody knows you professionally, your LinkedIn
Mhm.
profile, your website, but tell us something which usually people don't know about you.
Well, what people don't know about me, I think I love reading books, and it's not just the business books that I read, but like for example, this particular book. This is Why We Make Things. Um, so now the thing with this book is that this is by Peter Korn. He makes furniture, and he's basically talking about this whole thing about doing things with your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been fascinating reading, and you sort of uh, think about gets you thinking about what we do things with our hand, and we just get used to frictionless and contactless and everything else, and then the hand is when we do things with our own hand, we've got to make that experience simpler for others, but still want to learn. That's really what
Amazing.
really
I'm
interesting.
going to buy that book for sure. It looks very, very interesting. Simon, my next question is essentially, which is the title of the show, how subscribed are you? Please talk about few subscriptions which you have in your life right now as a consumer.
So I'm not a particularly big subscriber of services at the moment. So when I think about subscriptions, Office 365, Zoho, yes, I have a Netflix subscription, but I'm almost to the point of switching it off, not because there's a problem with the service, but the fact is I don't watch entertainment channels anymore all that much. And I stopped satellite TV almost 12 years ago. But then I miss sports, and that's that. So, but do have Kindle Unlimited. I've signed up for Medianama, Ken. So, but thing for me at the moment is subscriptions that help me learn new things and do more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where my current focus of subscriptions has been. In terms of other services, I've thought of subscribing for milk. I've thought of even subscribing for shaving blades and things like that, and came close to it, but didn't give it a try. It just felt one stop short. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
there was nothing compelling. Maybe the use case that they offered was not what it was. So at the moment, it's more like I'd rather stick to purchasing things that I really need.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's one part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But as a customer experience professional, I get why companies would like customers to explore subscriptions. But
Mm-hmm.
for my use case, I don't think they've quite got to that point where it's compelling, and it's sort of addressing a particular need that I have,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where it's at. In my work role, however, we're also seeing a lot of interest in companies and their need to do subscription-based models.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when but the one big discussion that it's always there is that what's the customer journey? How can we map it better?
Mm-hmm.
And how can we actually look at the customer journey in a holistic perspective, and not just getting somebody to sign up, but from a sustainability centric business model perspective.
Very
So
interesting.
that's
I just hope that all the CXOs who are running these big businesses, they also start getting what we're trying to say, because there's a huge white space. And I keep saying this again and again, but during my conversations in last 3-4 years, people somehow don't get it, right? Like, you get it. I think that's our job to educate people.
yeah.
But you
Yeah.
spoke about Ken. I have been like a subscriber of Ken from day one. Out of
Okay.
all these subscriptions, which one would be your favorite if you were to pick one?
Given the few subscriptions I really have, I think the music subscription on my phone
Mm-hmm.
That's the most valuable because, well, all moods, all seasons, there is something to listen to. But I think the subscription that I would really point out to is Office 365.
Mm-hmm.
One doesn't necessarily think of subscriptions for, and a productivity subscription as a favorite subscription, but it is what, I genuinely feel that they've done something very important,
Mm-hmm.
right? The fact that Microsoft will call you back or email you,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on the choice that if there was a problem, you're not
Mm-hmm.
jumping through, hoops of, just finding out who to get in touch with or use case. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you raise a ticket, they'll say,
Mm-hmm.
well, okay, we'll call you back in 15 minutes. And
Yeah.
I find that invaluable in the sense that, there is a human that is going to call me back.
Mm-hmm.
They figured out what their business model is for that human intervention to happen. But it
Mm-hmm.
makes for a very high touch subscription experience,
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're not just thinking about, whether we are using Word or PowerPoint or OneDrive or anything else. We're thinking about the fact that we've got somebody, if I need help, I will
Mm-hmm.
get a call back in 15 minutes or
Yeah.
17 minutes, whatever it is, but
Yeah.
at whichever time of the day. And I find that completely invaluable about that particular service.
Brilliant. And I know I've been asking you primarily questions as a consumer, but as an expert, we know there are three, four things which goes into before you switch to a subscription model, which is of course finding that need, that value addition, whether the consumer actually needs it, like a brilliant example of Microsoft here. Then you have the whole layer of customer experience, right? It could be through different touch points, but essentially it's all about CX, right? And then at the end you have the data, right? The first party data you're building, which is giving you a lot of ability to cross sell, upsell, or in fact make new products. But as an expert, what do you think is the most important, like one of the most important parts where you are focusing?
So the thing about the subscription model is that it makes the sign up process easy. I mean, you attach a payment instrument and you're off to the races.
Mm-hmm.
But the question I ask myself each time is how easy is it to stop the service?
Mm-hmm.
Will it be the same ease of use as the sign up process, or it will be something like a steeplechase in athletics? Like you go here, you go here, or maybe in some cases, you just have to make that phone call to stop the service.
Yeah.
So that's really the, if you're getting somebody to sign up in an easy manner, I think the immediate part is in case they don't need it or for whatever reason they need to stop it, make it easy so that there is no angst at either end of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
The next point, if I were to look at it, is the journey itself. How well is the persona and journey mapping being done?
Mm-hmm.
There is an excitement about the subscription model, but I get that, and I've been studying it as a customer experience person as well. But if you really want to see how much effort has been gone into the subscription model, you've actually got to see what they have done with the help desk and
Mm-hmm.
all the online resources that they've put there, right? Uh, it gives you a very a rich idea of what was prioritized in the subscription model design and what was sort of left out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I think as CX professionals, we sort of get it, but I think the customer gets it too,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if they're going through, the search is going to tell you what people are finding as a problem. So the help desk, the way you're structuring your resources, and that's really an important thing. But the other side of it is when you talk about first party data and all that,
Mm-hmm.
the new Apple IDFA guidelines coming into force. I think this holistic view of data also comes into play. Are you setting up the subscription service, or are you looking at a way to collect data and augment revenue by some other data monetization model, right? My relationship with you is for that, shaving blade or milk or whatever else. But it's not like, I've given you the license to sort of sell my data and it's an important aspect of it that is perhaps not given as much emphasis, but, needs to be looked at in a very holistic sort of manner. Um, so till such time, uh, a slightly holistic view is looked up, people are going to be willing to be more going to that nearby store, or just looking at a non subscription based thing for the same thing. The other side of the story is sustainable experiences. Will a subscription model encourage people to only buy as per need, or will it encourage mindless delivery of products that are never opened, right? Um, sure, there are perishable products, but there are other products that we need to look at that thing. It's not just how optimal is our consumption pattern. The company should not be wasting products. After all, we are in that net zero world, and we need to be mindful of what's happening in the climate change discussion as well. So how can the business model be mindful of sustainable practices right through the supply chain to the delivery of the product, right? And that's, I think, something that I would suggest that we look at very closely. Subscription
Absolutely.
can be a canvas, which is an important, exciting canvas with multiple facets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and perhaps a new way of looking at what a customer experience can be.
Mm-hmm. No, no, absolutely. And, I love the point which you made about sustainability because, for example, I see right now I'm in Poland and I see a lot of subscriptions do not sell sustainability as a soft thing, right? The entire offering of subscription is actually the primarily benefit they're selling to it is sustainability. That even if I'm getting, like, for example, toothpaste or my dental care or my clothes, and
Yeah,
they tell you everything about the supply chain, that how focused they are on sustainability.
yeah,
And there are so many people who are willing to pay that premium, right? That if you tell them that this is sustainable, whatever business model you are into. But
right.
I think people need to realize it, that sustainability goes really well along with the whole concept of subscription models. In fact, some of the most successful subscription models, if you see in the US also, in fact in Europe also, they're built on this value of sustainability, right? That's a brilliant point. And Simon, my last question and my favorite, if you were to have one subscription in your life which does not exist right now, in 2021, what would that be, your wish?
Okay, this is a tough one. I have an open mind on subscriptions, but what I'd love to see is a subscription service that delivers books, physical books, and
Hmm.
supports the local store in an integrated experience.
Hmm.
And I'd love to see a publisher or somebody figure out a way of integrating that experience and sort of create a larger community on book reading and the book culture. And I think the other sort of service that or subscription that I'm quite curious about is car subscriptions, right?
Hmm.
So there are a few companies who've launched car subscription in India as of now. But with this coming transition of energy transition to electric,
Hmm.
it's going to bring up new ownership and driving experiences. And I think that there is an opportunity for subscription-based model to emerge.
No, that's fascinating. I would also, I'm a book lover, and of course, I have bought Kindle so many times, but it never gives me that pleasure. And I keep thinking that, if I can get some kind of subscription where I'm getting these curated books, that will be
Yeah.
really great. And about cars, I think there is a lot of brands in India, Simon, are doing this, but frankly speaking, none of them is like a true subscription model.
Yeah.
And also, I get a lot of question from people on LinkedIn saying, oh, it's the same thing as leasing, it was always there, right? So what's the hype about subscription? And I have to explain them, like, get into the basics, what are the fundamental differences between a subscription model, right? Which is essentially, which started off by saying that it's, it's end of ownership and it's about outcome. Subscribers are looking for outcome. So an ideal subscription would be where companies start realizing that they are not in the business of selling cars the way OEMs think, but you're selling miles, right? And
Yeah.
I understand it's not easy. It's difficult. Like if you ask a
Very
CEO, he will
difficult.
say that, dude, it's easy to say, but for me to switch off from
Yeah.
selling cars to selling what you're saying kilometers and miles is very difficult.
It's
But I
very
think
difficult.
very interesting in next few years. I think we'll see a lot of stuff, especially with the EVs and the whole infrastructure coming in. But I think brilliant talking to you, Simon. I think it was so much
Lovely
fun.
talking to you. Yeah.
Thank you for taking out the time. And this was the show. We had Simon. How subscribed are you? See you next time, guys.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.